Hey dudes! It is I, Scott, here to discuss Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, starring Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, and George Carlin, and directed by Stephen Herrick. Now, before I get into this review, I must say, I'm a newbie to this because I've never seen any of the movies, and the fact that they're making a third part, well, let's see how that goes. I'm curious about the series. Let's get into it. In the future of the year 2688, in the city of San Dimas, California, we meet Rufus, played by comedian George Carlin, who tells the story of two high school best friends, Bill S. Preston Esquire, played by Alex Winter, and Ted Theodore Logan, played by Keanu Reeves, are failing history class and focus more on their band, the Wild Stallion, in San Dimas in 1988. And I was getting a vibe from another movie about people that like this, except the one I'm referring to is not set in high school, and the movie is Dude, Where's My Car? Where they act like stoners, and I get a kick out of stoner comedies because it makes me laugh very hard, just like this movie does. Bill's stepmother, Missy, who's attractive and is married to his father, Ted's father, plans on sending him to the military academy in Alaska because he's failing school, and they work very hard to study their history test. And I'm liking the setup of these characters as I can relate to them. Rufus talks with future Bill and Ted, and as they send them back to 1988 in a time traveler phone booth and visit the 1988 Bill and Ted. And I love the way Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter and George Carlin play this scene at a Quick Mart with their funny lines. And I love the way the iconic line, "Party on, dudes!" was sold in this movie, as it's making me laugh very hard. Rufus tells Bill and Ted to get in the phone booth and time travel in the past with picking up a Frenchman named Napoleon in Austria 1805. As Napoleon gets in the time travel world back to 1988, as we arrive to Ted's house and his little brother Deacon watches him and his father signs him up to the military academy, and his flight to Alaska arrives the next day, and they go back to New Mexico in 1879 in the Western Times and picks up Billy the Kid, who was a famous outlaw, and they get thrown into the wall, and they escape with Billy the Kid after they save his life. And that was a great as a Western fight. And I love how they escaped by pulling up a wedgie as they run back to the phone booth. And honestly, this movie works great with not just comedy, but as a history lesson if you have a reporter do like they do. In Athens, Greece, in 1410 BC, or no, 410 BC, excuse me, I meant 410, Bill and Ted pick up Socrates, as he doesn't speak English. And we also go back to the 15th century England and go to the castle of King Henry, and Ted falls in love with the two princesses that his future self they sneak around the castle and sword fight, and they get caught by the guards, and they eventually get the princesses and their father, and as their father and almost gets their heads cut off until Billy the Kid and Socrates come to their rescue and get out of the 15th century safely, and they go to the future of what Bill and Ted will look like, as well as the reputation as rock stars. And I'm having a good time, as this movie is hilarious. Meanwhile, Deacon and his friends eat ice cream, go bowling, and will eventually ditch him, which is kind of a stupid thing, but hell, he was being a jerk to do, but he was supposed to be watching him, and I don't care for Deacon as much as the other characters. In Vienna, Austria, in the year 1901, we meet Sigmund Freud as they capture him to go to the Castle, Germany in 1810 and pick up a piano player, Beethoven, as well as Orleans, France in 1429 to pick up Joan of Arc, and we also pick up Genghis Khan, from out of Mongolia in 1209, and the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln, in 1863. Ted realizes and the antenna on their time travel phone booth is broken, and Bill fixes it while in San Dimas in a million BC with gum attached, and Bill and Ted goes back to the night before they go back to the current 1988 times with only 2 hours left, and they do chores around Bill's house, which is a funny fish out of water moment for me. Bill and Ted take them to the mall and tell them to stay put while they pick up Napoleon, who they find in a water park, and the others are at the mall all over the place. For example, Billy the Kid, Freud, and Socrates hits on 2 girls. Joan of Arc is leading a dance exercise class. Beethoven plays the pianos at a store, and Genghis Khan is playing around in a store, and Abraham Lincoln gets a picture taken, and it works great as a fish out of water comedy. And they get arrested by the cops as Bill and Ted get to the mall and find out they get arrested by Ted's father, who's a cop, and tries to get them out. And Ted's father doesn't understand what Bill and Ted with Bill distracts him, so he can get them out of prison, and they go to school to deliver their history report by having real characters on stage with Bill and Ted and deliver the best report being ever done in a movie. And they pass the class, and Ted doesn't go to military school and joins Bill on being in a band together, and the history characters go back to their own years, and the princesses joins Bill and Ted to prom, and as a climax, all this is a good fun time, and it's a funny movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 7.8 out of 10. This is a fun, funny, and a great time to go on their excellent adventure into history. I enjoyed Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, and George Carlin in this movie, and they cracked me up, and I'm a little worried about the next 2 movies, but we'll see how that goes. But overall, if you haven't seen this movie at all in your life, I recommend you see it. You'll have a good, fun old time. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And until next time, party on, dudes!